We got breaking news, everybody. We got breaking news, a deep dive. Not only is Snellzilla, Blake Snell, one of the most coveted starters in this year's free agent market that I would have loved to see land in Queens, is now landing with the LA Dodgers because, of course, the rich get richer here at a 5-year, $180+ million contract. We also have heard the latest rumblings connecting the Mets to Juan Soto, and apparently they may just have already a contract in place right around $700 million. How accurate is that report? Should we take it with anything more than a grain of salt? What is the implications now of Blake Snell signing this massive deal with the Dodgers? How it impacts the pursuits for the Mets and trying to land starting pitching talent in this free agent market, along with the Mets' overall mindset heading into 2025, knowing that they're going to need a bested team like the Dodgers to get where they want to be, which obviously is a World Series championship. That and more is what we're about to deep dive, folks. But let me see your initial reactions in the comments down below to our latest Big Mets update segment on Snellzilla landing with the LA Dodgers out of absolutely nowhere. He broke the news himself there on Instagram in a Dodgers uniform, LA, and then we find out shortly after from Jeff Passan himself. 5 years, over $180 million, folks. Before we deep dive the AAV and this impact on the market for the Mets and other teams, folks, let's hear a quick word from our amazing sponsor that you guys and gals know very well. That is going to be our great friends here at BetUS. For those that don't know BetUS, everybody, they have you covered with all your sports betting needs. Make sure you head over to betus.com.pa today by using Wardy's promo code YouTube150. That way you two get a 150% bonus on your first deposit, $125 on your second and your third, up to $2,000 for all your sports betting needs. And as we do each and every day, folks, we have ourselves a 2-leg parlay that's currently active at the moment. So until we find out the conclusion and how that parlay did, I'm not going to touch on it more here right now for our latest NBA picks out right there, folks. So good luck to everyone that tailed them. We'll talk about them more in tomorrow's segments of shows, folks. So be on the lookout as we'll be placing daily bets right here at betus.com.pa for all your sports betting needs. And please know, when you tail my bets, I'm not a sports betting expert. I'm just a diehard fan that loves to place daily bets here at BetUS. But let's hop back in this one, everybody, and let me see your initial reactions to, yes, the Blake Snell news. At $182 million across 5 years, we're looking at an average annual value per year of right around $36.5 million. That is a lot of coin that you're going to be giving to Blake Snell, but this is the reason why, folks. Again, whether you love it or hate it, the market is continuing to change. It's going to be inflated in starting pitchers' favors, and after missing out big time Blake Snell last offseason on a massive long-term deal because no one was throwing them out there, so he signed a short-term 1-year deal there in San Francisco, dominated with the San Diego Padres, which my man Born and Hogwatch knows very well on his YouTube channel. He goes from the Padres, where he was a Cy Young Award winner. He goes to San Francisco, where he was absolutely dominant there after the first month and a half or so, getting acclimated after no spring training. Now he enters an LA Dodger rotation headlined by Shohei Ohtani, healthy next season, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Tyler Glass now, potentially Clayton Kershaw upon his return. You still have Miller, you still have Stone, you still have Dustin May, all these guys coming back from injury. The only uncertainty with the Dodgers rotation is the uncertainty when it comes to player health, because Blake Snell only has 2 seasons under his belt at least 130 innings pitched, but in both those seasons, he won the Cy Young of at least 180 innings or more. The guy's absolutely filthy. He's unhittable. He's one of the best true starters not only available in this year's market, but in Major League Baseball, and I would rightfully argue that Blake Snell is better pure stuff than what you're going to get from Corbin Burnes on a longer-term contract. And now Corbin Burnes is going to be looking for north of 7 years at what could very well be surpassing $250+ million if he's going to get anything relative to Blake Snell here, and he's going to be obviously targeting right around the same AAV of at least $36.5 million per year, 35.5 plus or so. Blake Snell just proved on a short-term contract seeking 2 to 4 years. He gets a 5-year deal where there is deferred money, according to Mark Feinsand, which again shouldn't come as a surprise. I feel like every contract for the Dodgers for the foreseeable future is going to have a certain amount of deferred money in there. That is going to give them continued financial flexibility to spend big each and every offseason while trying to consistently be a contender for the World Series. They just want it all there in year one after spending $1.2 billion this past offseason. And the upside for the Dodgers and their fans is this is a team where the rich certainly get richer, but how does this motivate Steve Cohen and other owners across Major League Baseball? I mean, how does it not? How does it not frustrate everything? This is yet another infinity stone added to what is the Thanos hand, which is Freeman and everyone else in company. They're leading the charge for the LA Dodgers. Their rotation, if they play to their caliber and hitting on all full cylinders, can easily be the best in Major League Baseball next season, just on the talent alone. Then you add in the uncertainty with Roki Sasaki. If Sasaki lands there on, say, the bonus pool north of $7 million starting January 15th, and I'm like, this is not fun. This is not fair for Major League Baseball. But all jokes aside, you have to wonder how this positively positively impacts teams trying to go after Roki Sasaki and his services. Should he not land with the Dodgers, maybe there's a higher inkling that he's going to land with the San Diego Padres, like I predicted through Bleacher Report app that you guys saw in our video earlier today. Check it out if you haven't already on our latest MLB offseason predictions. Could he land maybe in New York with the Yankees or the Mets, trying to establish himself in those markets there, knowing how much marketability he'd have, and also knowing that he wouldn't be in the shadows of Ohtani, Yamamoto, and everyone else in company the way that he inevitably would be there if he lands with the LA Dodgers. So when it comes to the Dodgers and their pursuit, what stands out a lot to me and how this impacts the Mets among others is as follows. There was no prior reporting whatsoever. This just dropped just like that. There was nothing to suggest up until this point that the Dodgers were at all close to Snell, let alone were even talking to him much from what we've heard in the public eye. The Dodgers not only work sneakily, but they work quietly, and that's something to emphasize when looking at the Juan Soto pursuit that they still have ongoing, which we simply can never write off the Dodgers, as my man Dexter Henry famously said in our live show earlier today, and he's 100% right. You never can, especially with the deferred payments. For all we know, Soto could go full KD Warriors here, even with having won a championship already. Who knows? Because this Dodgers team just gets better night by night, day after day, and it shows you that spending money will get you far, even if it's to drastic degrees the way it is for Blake Snell. Because normally for a guy Blake Snell's caliber, even with how filthy and how dominant of a starter he is, and I cannot emphasize this enough, this was a tremendous get for the Dodgers. I hate this for LA, because this causes greater problems for the Mets and their pursuit of trying to win a championship coming out of the National League anytime soon. But Snell, he's so boom or bust in the sense that there's a ticking time bomb here on the health if he can stay healthy and his longevity going deep into games. When you look at every aspect of this rotation, there are question marks, but they play to their potential here. The Dodgers just got themselves an absolute weapon, a Cy Young caliber pitcher who will not shock me at all if similar to what we just saw in his first year in Atlanta and Chris Sale winning the Cy Young, Blake Snell being at least a Cy Young contender there for the LA Dodgers and his third team that he is now repping out of the NL West. Now, how this impacts the Mets and other teams has everything to do with guys and Sean Manaea, Walker Buehler, Luis Severino to an extent. These guys are going to be looking for high AAVs, and yes, obviously Blake Snell is to a much higher echelon than the three pitchers I just listed, but all three of them are still going to be looking for a high AAV premium on a shorter term deal. So in the case of Sean Manaea, who's probably looking at Yusei Kikuchi's 3 years of $63 million of salve at the mouth, he's salivating even more, seeing 36.5 AAV given to Blake Snell here after the season that he had. Sean Manaea is going to definitely try to find himself in the range of hoping for north of a $70+ million contract if he can have it happen. God willing, that doesn't in fact happen, but the Mets still bring him back on, say, a north of a 3-year deal. Luis Severino, he's a big question mark as to what his future will hold, but how this impacts every starting pitcher available in the free agent market, from Max Fried to Corbin Burns, the big one, to the lesser degrees in the Sean Manaeas, the Walker Buehlers, the Luis Severinos, the Jose Quintanas, what have you. This positively impacts all of them, and this negatively impacts teams that are trying to penny pinch for certain stars this offseason, or maybe aren't in love with getting in bidding wars for guys. This is now going to further happen, knowing that Blake Snell is off the market just like that. A Red Sox team that was heavily pursuing him as well, they're no longer in the mix now that he has landed in LA, so they're going to properly pivot there more to Corbin Burns, potentially the trade market, and Garrett Crochet among others. The Mets now, while they weren't listed as a team for Snell's services, according to Mark Feinsand, the Yankees, Red Sox, Orioles at minimum, all teams in the NL East were heavily pursuing Snell to this point. Nothing reportedly on the Mets outside of just why he felt like such a great fit for the Mets if he had interest in the East Coast. That held to not be true. Not shocking. Makes so much sense why Snell is going to stay out there in the NL West. This time with the Dodgers, they get a formidable southpaw to help their rotation right away. And how the Mets need to go about things is they need to make sure that they don't sit on their hands too long. These Juan Soto sweepstakes are without question the most important thing, but you have to make sure that it doesn't get in the way of still trying to land elite talent that's available out there in the free agent market right here, right now. The Mets need to make sure they don't shoot themselves in the foot to the point where once Soto finally makes his decision, especially if, say, hypothetically, he doesn't sign with the Mets per se, then you have that greater problem of, oh my God, we not only lost on Soto, but we just missed out on Corbin Burns, Walker Buehler, and Sean Manaea too. Not to say those things will happen, but that is a possibility and a risk that the Mets put themselves in by waiting out the way that they do. So we'll find out if the Mets will have more moves in the coming future on the starting pitching market. I will not be shocked. Yusei Kikuchi was the first domino fall. Blake Snell is the next, which means more are inevitably coming in the coming days or the next 24, 48 to 72 hours. But as as we transition talking from starting pitching, how there's pros and cons for the Dodgers, and certainly cons on how this negatively impacts the free agent market, not only for now, but in years going forward in player evaluation on high AAV, now midterm deals, not short-term, but midterm. A 5-year deal is a massive contract to give to Blake Snell. Deferred money or not, that's a huge one for what you're getting, knowing there's uncertainty on the length, on the amount of innings you're going to get from him each and every year, but they're buying high on what his ceiling can be, and his ceiling is amongst the best in Major League Baseball. So you can't fault the Dodgers there. They've had brilliant minds on their front office, and they're going to continue to make smart, savvy moves. Even if it's going to hurt them down the road, it is not going to bother them now, knowing they're in a win-now stage after winning it all in 2024. But we just talked there on Blake Snell, so let's talk on everything with Juan Soto, because regarding Juan Soto, folks, let's get into the latest here that you can see from Daily Mail US, actually, one of the first I saw this. Juan Soto is signing with the New York Mets at $700 million, says ex-MLB player. I'm not going to click on the article. This is Carlos Baerga, everyone's worst-kept secret. Baerga, former New York Metropolitan, and most recently, over the past couple years, famously known Hispanic reporter. That's one of his way to break some news that we have seen accurately, including Justin Verlander's over $80+ million, I think around $86 million or so, on a multi-year deal with the Mets a couple off seasons ago. He was also famously wrong with Freddie Freeman not going to the Toronto Blue Jays, and guys in Hector Neris on a smaller scale not going to the Yankees last offseason. So when it comes to Baerga, you definitely need to take to a degree with a grain of salt what he has to say. He's also the same man that a couple weeks ago said that the Mets already have a contract offer in of $650 to $600 million for Juan Soto, and that has not been proven to be true at all, as contracts officially were thrown out today, according to widespread belief and reporting. Now we hear from Carlos Baerga that he firmly believes and is under the understanding from everyone he's heard throughout the industry that the Mets are signing Juan Soto at $700 million at least, which would make him tied for the highest contract or so in Major League Baseball, right up there with Shohei Ohtani. I expect Juan Soto to get right around $700 million, but what I don't expect is for Carlos Baerga to be the first man to break the news for the most coveted star in a free agent market over the past how many decades, not named Shohei Ohtani. He's more coveted than Harper in the Machado sweepstakes in 2019, no denying that whatsoever, and now Soto is looking for a bag right up there with Shohei Ohtani. But the big question is, are the Mets going to land him? One, and two, are they going to land him there at that price point? I think if they do land him, it will be right around there, but I think when it comes to Baerga, what he's hearing is more so just personal prediction than it necessarily is accurate reporting. That is something that we have sadly seen come to fruition over the past couple off seasons, where Baerga, he's had the right thing at heart, we know that, but he has not been entirely accurate with his reporting, which is why I'm not going out of my way to say breaking news, Mets have signed Juan Soto to $700 million, because until we find out for more accurate reporting from guys in John Heyman and guys in, I can't believe he just said that, more so in Jeff Passan, Ken Rosenthal's, what have you, we have to take this for what it is. So again, signs are definitely pointing towards the Mets right now, but we know that signs pointing doesn't necessarily mean it'll be the case in the end, and we've seen that very well with the Yoshinobu Yamamoto sweepstakes from an off season ago. And as I touched on, folks, in our live stream earlier today, and I will mention it once more, the Mets are not only actively involved heavily for Juan Soto, but they do have an advantage to a degree, and this comes from remarks that we hear from Mad Dog Russo himself earlier this past day, speaking to John Heyman.
You know, I think he's going to probably, I didn't think so. I thought he'd re-sign with the Yankees, but I got a funny feeling he might go to the Mets. I know that the only visit that he made to a mansion, you wrote about this, was to Steve Cohen's house in Beverly Hills.
So I'm just going to emphasize that part there. Simply put, Steve Cohen had Juan Soto and Scott Boras over at his Beverly Hills mansion, while every other team that met with Soto throughout the first round of meetings, at least in LA, met with Scott Boras and Soto at their preferred location. So Steve Cohen flexing the big bucks yet again. Just come to my mansion, the Beverly Hills. Don't worry about it. We'll pick you up from your feet as soon as you get to the driveway. We'll carry you all the way inside. Not a problem. All jokes aside, Steve Cohen has surprised absolutely nobody, who heavily wants Juan Soto and is actively negotiating as we speak, and is so involved in some negotiations with David Stearns, Carlos Mendoza, and everyone else in company. He's further proving what separates himself from other owners. Not only the ability to spend like any other owner, but also the personability, the ability to really be one-on-one with the player and come from a fan perspective. That's what benefits Steve Cohen, and that's why it wasn't for a lack of effort when they didn't land Yamamoto after Yamamoto went to his house there in Connecticut, the same way that it benefited the Mets when they brought in Brandon Nimmo, Edwin Diaz for dinners right away before they signed their massive contracts with the Mets, the same way that before the Mets signed Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, they of course had these meetings similar, I'm sure. This is the first time I've heard it at a location in LA for Cohen where he lives. lives, but he has multiple houses that we're aware, where we are well aware of, multiple mansions, and he was able to flex the big guns yet again to saying, hey, Juan, if you come here, you're going to get so many things in your favor, including this kind of special treatment that I'm personally going out of my way for, knowing that I have a lot of busy things and tasks to take care of on the day-to-day as a $22 billion net worth of a man. I'm going out of my way to talk to you right here, right now, for you to sit down at my lovely place and then fine dine and everything in between. Just imagine this, then more, with your face all over Queens, all over New York for the next 10 to 15 years. Let's make it happen. So Mets fans, let us know your thoughts on not only the Blake Snell signing and its impact on the Mets among others in the free agent market, along with Carlos Baerga yet again saying how the Mets not only have a contract offer this time, but how it appears that they look like that they are going to be signing Juan Soto at $700 million. Let us know your initial reactions to that all, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, until we talk to you again, have a fantastic rest of your night to evening, whenever you're watching this. As your guy Wardy, signing out. Let's go Mets, baby. Peace.